This is the Tom Anderson Show, broadcasting live from the KBNT studios, 7 to 9 a.m., Monday through Friday.
So just imagine that you're walking in your neighborhood and minding your own business, getting close to home, and all of a sudden, you're attacked. Sounds like a movie. We just had the Focus on the Family movie reviews, and it sounds like something Adam Holtz would describe in a flick at the theater. But this is what happened to Mikka Thomas recently in the city of Anchorage. And one of the reasons I wanted to have her on the program is it highlights not just the assault and the injury, and she'll go through and delineate the process, detail what happened, talk about emotions during and post-traumatic, but also what happened to the guy who did this to her. Of course, it's always a guy assaulting a girl, sadly, but there's more to the story with his priors and such, and just the incredulity, the incredible nature of someone like him not being put away for a long time or charged with murder is much to my chagrin and will likely be to yours too. Mikka Thomas, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. How are you?
Yeah, I bet you're not doing that great with your injuries. She sent me photos of it. So, of course, as we talked before this, she and I talked yesterday. I said, I'd love to have her on the show. And she said, sure. And I said, why don't we go through first what happened? Where do you live? You know, not the address, but what area do you live at? And tell us the story of what happened.
Yeah, it's in the Fairview area. I was walking home. It was late. I know I probably shouldn't have been walking that late, but I had walked up to the gas station, and I was on my way home, and I literally had one more corner, and I was going to be there. And so I'm walking, and I don't know if I heard something or I just felt something, but I turn around, and right when I turn around, he is on my heels, like directly right behind me, and I knew there should be no business for anybody to be right behind me. And he had this look in his eyes, like either blank or evil. And the first thing I said was, "Please don't." And immediately after that, he hit me in the head with the rock.
And I saw the photos. I mean, bad, blood all over. This wasn't like a pebble. This was like a rock, like he wanted to kill you. And
Yeah.
it was the level he could have, right? If he had a full
Right.
swing, I mean, you could kill someone or certainly debilitate them where they're a vegetable. I mean, you're
Correct.
hitting in the head. And so
Yeah.
he hit you. And, you know, I don't know if you've been in a fight in your life, hopefully not, but if you have it, you know, when you get hit, unless it's like from the rock, you know, where you get killed from it, you can withstand it, and then your adrenaline pumps up, and maybe
Right.
you go down, maybe unless you get hit in the jaw and you get knocked out. In your
Yeah.
case, it was what, in the forehead or in the back of the head?
It was in the forehead. But then I fell to the ground. And then it was just a fight for my life from that point on, because he would not stop. I mean, he was on top of me, bashing me in the head over and over. And I felt every time he hit, I would see a flash of light, and I felt myself getting weaker. But I knew just the only thing at that point was to scream. And as I'm screaming, he put his hand over my mouth and was pushing my head into the cement. And then with the other hand, he still has a rock, and he's hitting me over and over and over. And I knew, like, at any point, I knew soon that I was going out, because I could feel my screams getting weaker, and I was getting dizzier and dizzier. And so I was able to, when he had his hand over my mouth, somehow turn my body, and I took my hand and peeled his hand off of my mouth and screamed out as loud as I could, "Please help, he's trying to kill me." And at that point, I felt him fly off of me, and that's where Sean Sullivan comes in.
And who's Sean Sullivan?
He's the man that saved me.
And is he a neighbor? Was he a passerby?
No, he was a neighbor, because it happened almost directly in front of his house.
And so he came out, he heard, and you didn't see him coming over, but all of a sudden the perpetrator gets pulled off, and throwing it. And what happened from there? Now, did you stay on the ground, or did you get up, or was it you were in a daze? And did you watch them in the altercation from that point?
Right. So I feel him fly off, and I believe Sean might have came with like a football tackle type deal. And no, there was blood pouring all in my eyes and my mouth, so I couldn't see much. But I believe he got up and started to run, but Sean chased him down, and I was still down on the ground and in shock. But his girlfriend came. Her name is Joni Miller, and she was by my side while I was on the ground still.
And so then Sean, it sounds like because the guy's in custody that did this, Sean caught him, and what, did he hold him down, and did someone call law enforcement, APD?
Yes, as the girlfriend was with me helping attending to my wounds, she was on the phone with 911, and Sean was on top of the guy holding him down a little bit further down the street.
And so how long would you say, now we can get into kind of the law enforcement protocol or time. Anchorage Police Department's called by Sean's girlfriend. She's there with you, comforting you. And how long would you say, I bet it felt like forever, but how long would you say they responded?
Well, for me, everything felt like it was an hour, but I want to say maybe 4 or 5 minutes.
So that seems pretty quick. I mean, it's not like they were right down the corner. So if they zoom over, and how many law enforcement officers, how many vehicles responded? Was there an ambulance when they saw your injuries? How did that unplay?
There was 2 police officers, and the ambulance hadn't arrived yet. So the police officers came, immediately handcuffed him. One came over and started to attend to me. And then the ambulance arrived maybe three minutes after that.
And with the guy that did this, and we're almost at a break here, and then we'll come back and talk about the next steps from that. But So the police come and they talk to you, and they obviously take a witness statement from Sean and his girlfriend. Right. And do they immediately remove that guy? What happens to him? Is he in the back of the seat there until they get the questions from you, or did they take him away?
Well, they actually walked him. I'm still on the ground, and they walked him by me because one of the officers' vehicles was parked by me. And so, again, like I said, when he attacked me, he never said a word. And as they're walking him off, I look up at him and I said, "Why did you do this to me?" And I'm screaming and then I said, "Why did you do this to me?" And I called him a monster. And the police officer said, "Ma'am," and pretty much to not engage with him. And then they put him in the vehicle.
Wow. Did media come to that? I always wonder whenever there's something of this nature, and God forbid it was worse, if media listens to a scanner and rushes over. Did you have any media there?
No, not that night.
Not that night, but after. So now you get taken by, do you say, "I'm okay, I'm going to go inside, thank you," or do you get taken by ambulance?
No. Yeah, the ambulance took me to the hospital.
Which hospital?
Alaska Regional.
Alaska Regional, okay, which is near there. And so then you go, and how were you treated there, and what questions did they ask? Did police follow you into the exam room, or was it just medical practitioners? And how does that work when there's been an injury like this from an assault? I actually don't know.
Right. They immediately, the doctor came in, and then the first thing she wanted to do is, because, it was a head injury, she immediately got me to a CAT scan, and I went and did that because she wanted to make sure there was nothing wrong with my brain. And then after that, it was, most of the wounds are in the back of the head, so they said that my hair protected, so there wasn't any open wounds. But when he got me in the forehead, that's where it opened up, and there was a pretty deep cut, which I got stitches.
Oh, wow. And will there be a scar there?
Yes.
right. Yeah. It's we're talking with Mikka Thomas, who was assaulted, and the first part of the story is the trauma, the tragedy, her injuries, and it teaches us all. We'll get her thoughts next segment at the conclusion on how to be safe and what she could have done or what she shouldn't have done or what she should do in the future. But beyond that, we want to talk about this guy and what happened in his priors and how incredible it is that he was on the streets in the first place. Stay with us on the Tom Anderson Show.
This is the Tom Anderson Show, broadcasting live from the KVNT studios, 7 to 9 a.m., Monday through Friday.
48 minutes after the hour, I'm just about to post in the comments section of the announcement that we would have Mikka Thomas on our show. That's why you need to like the Tom Anderson Show on Facebook. Just about to post the before and after, and it's alarming how much blood and how severe the injury was. She was assaulted just recently in Fairview, Anchorage, and thank God for a neighbor and his girlfriend who came out. Sean is an angel. I tell you, guardian angels, he'd be great in New York City. We've had Curtis Sliwa on, the head of the Guardian Angels, and he is definitely a saint. He's our Charles Bronson. So we shout out to him, and we shout out to your perseverance, Mikka. You know, on the break, Rick and I were talking about, what you would do in that situation when you're, as we say, like with punching cold cocked or you don't know something's coming at you. But you made it. You survived. You go to the ambulance. We were talking right before the break about your Alaska Regional. What happens, to the best of your knowledge, to this guy? And more importantly, what were his priors? Because that's one of the reasons I wanted you on the show. I can't believe he was out on the streets.
Yeah, that was the thing that had my mind boggled. I couldn't believe that he wasn't with the charges that he was charged with. Me, I believe his bond was $3,000, and I felt like it was a little bit of a kick in the gut.
Yeah, for sure. He in terms of the background, and I know your friends Darcy and others who care about your sister, they've researched it. I mean, he has this guy, in terms of background, his rap sheet goes on a long time, doesn't it?
Right. Yes. I mean, it seems like every year he's being charged with a slew of crimes.
Do you think that he wanted to kill you? Do you think it was drug-induced? Do you think both?
Maybe both, but absolutely. I mean, if you guys could have seen the look, and then the way he was hitting me, it was like he wanted. He absolutely wanted me to shut up. I knew that when he put his hand over my mouth. But with every bash, I was like, he is trying to kill me. And they say, I watch this stuff on TV all the time, and they say, all the stuff that goes through your mind. And I always thought, can you really think of all that? Absolutely. There was I didn't know that you could think of that much stuff at one time, but I did. I know when he hit me the first time, the first thought was, my sister just told me, do not walk around there at night. And
so it was like regret.
I almost felt bad.
Like regret, like, oh my gosh, what have I done? She was right. Yes. Real quick synapse moment. And then what else did you think, since you're on that point? I mean, people talk about, and I'm not trying to sensationalize this. Right. This is human to human, and you and I have talked already, so I'm sincere in the questions. But I mean, were you thinking I'm going to die or what's going to happen?
That was as I was on the ground and he was hitting me, I was like, oh no, this is how I'm going to die. I was like, I don't want to die like this. And then I remember praying to God. I said, God, please don't let me die like this, please. And I feel like at that point when I was praying and I said, please don't let me die like this, it was when I felt him fly. Wow. And I felt like, he came right then.
He delivered. Yeah, that's people of faith. We have a lot of folks of faith listening. I'm one. Rick, the deep voice guy that answered the phone for you, he's a pastor, day job. So we believe, we're believers, and we get it. I want to get into a couple other facets of this. First of all, I know that your friends, your family are outraged that this guy was on the street in the first place, and the fact that he did this to you, and then you talked about the minimal bail, and I label it on the post that you would be on the show as a slap on the wrist. Right. What do you think, as a citizen that's now been assaulted, What do you think could be done better? What would you like to see changed? And are there any shout outs? I know Victims for Justice contacted you and they're a great organization, but first, what do you see that could have been differently done, either in the enforcement of it, in obviously keeping them off the street, in everything?
I mean, the thing is like if you when you look at his history, I believe that like everybody agrees to that he shouldn't have been on the street, and that's where that part comes in. When is the state of Alaska going to give people stiffer sentences, except for I mean I know the family that he terrorized in Chugiak, he did 18 months for that, and it's like I mean that's why I feel like I was given a second chance, and I feel like I mean he needs to be the example. He needs to, after doing this, I feel like he needs to be in there for a very long time.
Do you think that you could get involved with like a group like Victims for Justice and be one of the advocates on them? Are you want to be like a lieutenant for them now to say, hey, I'm an example. I'm the poster child. Look at my photos, and I want to help prevent and be tougher. Do you think just tougher sentences matters, or would you say also, you know that the mayor or the assembly or the governor or the mayor, the pope, whatever, I mean, you can't just stop people from doing drugs or being homeless if they choose not to. If they're like, screw you, I'm not doing it. I mean, what do you do? Force them? I guess you could force them and incarcerate them. But in this guy's case, he free will decided to what? Do meth, get on drugs again, and do that. So, I mean, sometimes it's just incarcerating for a long, long time if someone's not willing to rehabilitate.
Right. And if you, I mean, and then I read some of his cases, and he just seems to be a person that does not care. I mean, he just doesn't seem like,
he has a conscience. He's like, the term recidivist. He just keeps doing it over and over and over again, and they let him out. And I'm sure judges will say, if we had a judge on, what do you think they'd say? My hands are tied, or I'm following the law, the letter of the law. I hope the legislature, we have a state legislature and then the city government, the assembly, and then we have a governor with the state and the mayor with the city. I hope they all, if they're not listening, I hope that they take heed to your story. And I hope that in the judicial system, all these different branches of government, in the judicial system, I hope that they hang this guy high, to quote a Clint Eastwood movie theme. Let me ask this. Do you think that he will get a attempted murder charge, or do you think they're going to just default to the classic crappy assault 2 or 3 or something like that?
Yeah, that's a good question. As of now, it is the assault with a weapon and it's intent. But I mean, somebody takes a rock that big and continuously bashes somebody over the head. They pretty much, to me, it says they don't want them to live.
No. Agreed. And I thank God your scan was okay, because you mentioned that and you go through that. I know there's stitches and scarring, which is horrible, especially for a female. For a guy, it might be a badge of honor. For a female, I understand it's not. Other than you can say, hey, I've been in the war in terms of crime in Alaska. So a couple other quick questions. As you work with Victims for Justice, what would you tell people? What advice would you give people that are out there? Obviously, be careful when you're walking in the street. What time, first of all, right?
Yes. And especially with women, I mean, buddy system, don't walk anywhere. I don't even care if you feel like your neighborhood's safe that late at night alone. I feel like self-defense classes is a plus. Have protection on you.
Yep. In terms of pepper spray, or even if you can carry a concealed weapon, something like that. In your case, you wouldn't have known, you wouldn't have been prepared on the first hit, but maybe the second. Agreed. And then the one other thing, what did you learn from it in terms of intrinsically? Are you more faith-based now? Are you like, thank you, Lord, I'm going to keep praying because you did me one? You did me a kindness?
Well, I am going to continue to pray, but I mean, I feel like, he did hit the wrong person, because I'm not going to be the one that just says, well, let's just let the court handle it and he gets what he gets. Like I said, I feel like I was given a second chance and I need to use it wisely.
Well, I think that you are a remarkable person. You're highly intelligent. We talked yesterday, and I think your story is compelling and it's thoughtful. Mikka Thomas, I'm going to make sure to make this a YouTube video and spread the word, and we will follow you, try to get you back, and maybe get Victims for Justice staff on as well to talk about how we can prevent this and how this guy can pay. So bless you. I'm glad you're safe. Sending prayers for your quick recovery, and we'll have you back on again, okay?
Okay, thank you so much for having me.
Okay, absolutely. Mikka Thomas, what a saint. I really like her. I got to tell you that. Folks, enjoy your weekend. You heard it. She warned you. Be safe out there, and God bless.
This has been the Tom Anderson Show, broadcasting live on KVNT 1020 AM and 92.5 FM, Alaska's conservative talk. Listen to Tom Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Online at tomandersonshow.com. Enjoy your morning and keep it tuned right here on KVNT for our all-star talk show lineup.